A warm welcome. It is episode 31 of Social.tv with myself, Stuart Farmer, and with my co-host and cousin, Christian. How are we, mate?
Good, mate. Good.
What a weekend of combat sports. Now, we're going to cover the boxing in the first portion of the show. So if you're waiting for the UFC 266 and Bellator preview, that will be coming later, won't it, Chris? I just want to reiterate to the viewers the order of today's show, because just so much has happened over the weekend. Probably one of the most chocker weekends we've had since we started the show, I'd say.
Well, mate, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to cover, and a lot of fantastic fights over the weekend, mate. And you know what I mean? We've got so much still to come as well. You know, Tyson Fury, we've got Usman fighting, and there's so much to get, to cover as well. So we'll break into it, mate. We'll break into this AJ and I can find it for us. There we go. And Usyk. Before we go into the VT that you kindly set up for us today, just want to get your thoughts on what you felt in the fight.
He won 2 rounds in that fight. Some of them scorecards were absolutely ridiculous. 5, 5, and 6. He pressured him a little bit. He didn't have enough punch output, but I'm going to say it's got to be the class of Usyk there that stopped him. He was constantly second-guessing himself, I felt. He didn't look comfortable in there. And they were saying, Usyk's tiring, 8th or 9th round. It couldn't have been any further from the truth. He's been found out here big time. And Usyk eclipsed what I thought he'd actually do. I knew it'd be problematic going into it, but some of them scores aren't right at all. How did you feel on the scoring? Because, we've had a 117, 112, a 116, 112, and then the other one was at 115, 113. It's doing Usyk a disservice to how well he boxed and his style of boxing.
If I'm honest, I was watching stuff today, and they said about some judge gave Joshua the first round, and I'm like, what? There was no contest in that at all. Usyk, and I said this to you last week about his technical ability and his IQ as a boxer is so much beyond Joshua. And I know this, Joshua's been great for the sport, but when you look at an actual boxer like a Tyson Fury and an Usyk, they are miles ahead of what Joshua can bring to the table, which is sad and it's frustrating. Yes, being a British fighter, we want our Brits in no matter what combat sport we watch. We want them to do as well as they can. But he came up against a force of nature on the weekend. Usyk's movement throughout the whole 12 rounds, sorry, I sound like Jonathan Rossen, was absolutely fantastic. It was problematic for Joshua because Joshua couldn't get near him. Okay, he got Usyk a few times. You gave him 2 rounds. I'd probably give Joshua a round in that whole entire fight. I think Usyk was just fantastic. They say he's a slow starter. I didn't see Usyk as a slow starter. He went straight at it. It was just too good. The movement. He was, 1 minute he slowed down, then the next minute he went up again, and then he slowed down, then he went up again. The angles he was cutting and the constant head movement and his movement of his feet was so good. It's just, Joshua couldn't keep up with it. Joshua looked very stiff, if I'm honest.
Considering Joshua is the bigger man, it was Usyk commanding the center of that ring. You're looking at Joshua's reach advantage 4 inches. But it was just a case of he knew how to get inside him, and it was the jab. It was the jab as well. The front jab, just unbelievable. I worry now for Joshua. I really do. Latest news is Bob Arum has turned around and said, "Look, let's make Fury and Usyk off the back of it, and then Joshua comes in after. Obviously, willing that Tyson Fury does beat Wilder." But that seems to be where Bob Arum's head's at. I think Joshua having a rematch straight away, I don't think it's a good idea. But it might not be a good idea any time to have the rematch.
I think his reign's over now, Stuart. I think if Tyson Fury and Usyk are still in the game, I don't see Joshua catching either of them two. It'd have to be one of those sort of big strikes, like a Wilder swing, something like that would have to catch him. But he'd have to bulk up. If he's bulking up, then his cardio is going to take, massive. What's the word I'm looking for? Well, it's going to be a problematic for him if he puts his weight back on, because size is all good if you can hit that guy one punch. But when you've got guys like Fury and Usyk technically in, and their IQs of boxing is fantastic, he's going to be chasing shadows and he's going to tire. I don't see anything different in the Usyk fight. I think in general, you see my dogs are quite happy with it, obviously. They're just too good for Joshua. Yes, he's beaten some really handy guys, but he's never fought a boxer of Usyk's style before and how good of a boxer he is. Fury would have been the same problem for him, and I said this to you after the fight. I generally think if Fury was in this fight with him, I think Fury would have finished him, personally.
Joshua or Usyk?
I think Fury would have finished Joshua in this fight.
A lot of people are saying the bell went early as well for that when he had him rocked on the ropes.
If it carried on any earlier, I think he would have been KO'd in that last round, if I'm honest with you, because Joshua was out on his feet.
He was dead on his feet. He was gone. It's he's the bigger frame, he's the bigger guy. That I think he was tired, but at the same time, he didn't throw nowhere near as much as Usyk. And it's mad. It's madness. A lot of people are saying now Joshua's being found out. They're all coming out in their droves. Look what he's done. Look what he's done. People are discrediting him, and he's been brilliant. He's been fantastic. Some people don't like the guy. That's fair enough. That's opinion. I'm reading a lot of negative now about him. He's done really well for UK boxing, world boxing. But the heir apparent is there now, isn't he? And surely Fury must be licking his lips at the prospect of fighting Usyk.
What would you say that's the better fight now? Now you've seen Joshua with a better fighter.
The style he fights and the pair of them fight and the way they are, I really do. Because Usyk in the previous two fights coming up the division, he saved his best for this one because people were like saying, he didn't box well in the first two, which is Lawler and Chaz Witherspoon, but he's proven everyone wrong, and on that huge stage as well. It was really good at Tottenham.
But if I'm honest, I think Chisora is stronger than AJ in that case because when they tied up at Chisora and Usyk in that fight, you saw the strength in Chisora because he was able to hold him back, and put the weight on him. Joshua was struggling even when they tied up that you couldn't hold him, to put that weight on, try and tire him out. Struggled with that completely. I just think, people. I won't knock Joshua because I agree with what you say, what he's done for the sport.
Yeah.
But I think his time's finished now, personally, because I don't think he gets near. He can go and have a rematch with Usyk, but what are you going to learn in 6 months' time to the level where Usyk's at when it comes to the boxing? He's not going to learn that in 6 months' time.
Saying he'll be back in training on Monday. I wonder. The eye just it was pretty bad, but then again, Usyk had some around his eye before that, didn't he?
Underneath it. Yeah.
If I was him, the way he is, his mindset is to train, isn't it? But maybe he does just need a week or two before he gets back in.
But let's be honest here, right? And obviously, we're going to fall into a debate here, but whatever Joshua does for training-wise for a rematch against Usyk, it's still going to be an impossible task to get that level of skill and fight IQ in your brain to match Usyk's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't see how Joshua's going to learn it all.
Doesn't matter how many southpaws they get in, because they have a lot of southpaws in, didn't he, training in the build-up to the camp and all that. And it's all not disputing, them guys can box that they bring in. But then when you're in there with him, one of the pound best currently, you're going to be putting him up there with Canelo and Fury, aren't you? And it became apparent very early on how that fight was going to go. I had a sinking feeling around round 3. I really did. I thought he's behind here, massively behind. But just what next? I think come away, as you say, what else can he learn in a camp? Because Usyk just seems to have all the answers, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does have all the answers. And I think it's a case of, like, let's put this into perspective. You look at Fury and Wilder. Fury has Wilder's number because of the pure boxer that Fury is, the IQ, the technical ability of Fury. Okay, did get caught twice in their first fight, but he still outboxed him, outclassed him in both fights. And you can see that. And I feel like if you switch it to Usyk and Joshua, where you look at Joshua's the power puncher and Usyk's like Fury, technical IQ all up here, it's going to be the same situation. And I just feel like it's like a round robin. And it's just going to happen again and again because you can't teach people that sort of IQ. You either got it or you haven't. And Usyk and Fury are the kind of guys that have that fight IQ that can match everything the person fights against them with.
can Usyk beat Fury? You know, all being that he does beat Wilder in the third, because you know Wilder's got the punch power. You know, he's got to come through that. We know he's heavy favourite. We want him to win. Is Usyk a problem for Fury?
Yeah, I think so. I you know, I mean, this is going to be out on the limb here because you're the boxing guy and I'm an MMA guy, but I can only say what I see in front of me. I think that very slightly, I'd say Usyk's a better boxer than Fury. Not by a mile, but I think he's got the better sort of standard where I think Fury's probably just a bit below. Doesn't make a change in a fight though, because Fury is athletic, isn't he, as well? And he's a tall guy. He uses that reach really well as well. It'd be an interesting fight, if I'm completely honest with you. I want to see it. You kind of, after this loss now, you see what Joshua's sort of capable of against these guys. You don't want to see that anymore now. I want to see Usyk versus Fury because it's two technical boxers at their best, with the best IQ. And it's going to be like a chess match between them because it's going to be hard to even sort of break down the fight to say who's going to win because they're so similar in the way they box. Do you know what I mean? Interested, no. I'm going to jump to some comments.
I was going to say, get a few comments because it's a forum, this show as well. Heels rules. This guy commented very early on yesterday, actually, when you put the reminder up. AJ was schooled and exposed, a very well protected prize fighter for the big stadiums to sell his name only for huge money. No way he could ever beat Wilder or Fury. He was well beaten again. He's made a lot of money. We've got to be fair. Yeah, he was well beaten, but he's done some great things for British boxing. Let's not take it away. Everyone's knocking him now. You know, but I do take Heels rules comments there. You know, maybe Eddie Hearn knew the cash cow. He knew he could sell stadiums out with him. You know, what do you expect the promoters to do? Like
that's what they do. That's what they do. They promote. Yeah,
multiple millions, only something we could dream of. But I do take the point as well. You got to look at both sides of that comment. He was schooled. Where does he go from here? That's the thing. Anything else, Chris?
Yeah, we've got plenty, mate. One from our good friend Brett Thomas.
One of our OGs for the show, Brett Thomas. Logan Paul versus AJ could happen. Logan went toe-to-toe with the best in his generation. Could AJ go all round against Tyson Fury? If Logan puts on the pounds, I think AJ has the numbers. Logan Paul cannot get up to heavyweight. No chance. No disrespect, Brett. I know your thoughts on the Pauls you say week in, week out. That's a lot of weight to put on with an elite boxer because he's still elite. I don't care what anyone says.
No, I totally agree with you.
Power.
He'd knock Logan's head off, if I'm completely honest with you.
He could have implemented his punch power on Saturday, but he just couldn't. It was the movement of Usyk, as you said. Just could not get the killer punch on him.
Anyway, Brett's back again.
Yeah.
How you doing, my friend?
Mate. Good to have you on as always. Some chap called Jorge Masvidal wants to beat up Jake Paul and Logan Paul. I say let him try in a 2-on-1 handicap match then if he's so confident. Chris, I'll give you that one because Jorge is MMA royalty.
MMA guy, yeah. Let's be honest, Brett, right? And we appreciate your comments. Love them every week when you're on. Jorge Masvidal was a street fighter when Kimbo Slice was on the streets beating guys up. Come on now. You think two guys who only just sort of broke on the boxing scene. A lot of people hate them. Don't forget. I know Jake Paul's got the better boxing skill set than Logan Paul's, but Jorge Masvidal's a street fighter. That guy can fight dirty, and he's skilled. And I think he beats them both up personally. Unless Jake Paul and Logan Paul brought weapons to the party. Jorge Masvidal's a crazy guy, man.
Oh, hello, Lewis. Another OG. Watches every week. Appreciate you. Lewis, what are your thoughts on the fight? I'd like to see your take on it and how you felt it went. You're a man of few words, but I'm sure you got opinions on that. So yes, some opinions from you, Lewis, all the way up there in Falkirk in Scotland. Pete Layton, good afternoon. I thought AJ was rotten. A new viewer by the looks of things, Chris. Pete Layton.
Welcome, Pete.
He was in with a guy. He got exposed. I wouldn't say AJ was rotten. I just think stylistically he couldn't cope. I don't think he realised how good Usyk was going to be in there. Personal.
So you're going along the lines of you think he underestimated Usyk?
I think I think maybe, yeah, I do. And I think that was evident how one-sided and how lopsided. But Steve Monkman, he's been watching this now for a while. I like to see anyone beat up Jake and Paul. Right, there could be a war of words here now between yourself and Brett, because that's two polar opposite opinions on the polls. But yeah, that's what the show's about. You know, that's your opinion. Got to take that. El Secano, another OG. Tyson Fury and Wilder would have to beat AJ. Okay?
That's fine, yeah. That's your opinion.
That's fine. Do you see AJ winning a rematch?
No,
I just think
I don't.
How mentally does he prepare after being so lopsided? You know, beaten. How does he prepare for the second? I don't know. It's not Andy Ruiz, is it? You know what I mean?
No.
You're talking one of the best. You're talking one of the best pound for pound than Usyk now. Steve Monkman. What about David Hay next for AJ? That won't happen.
No.
Not a chance. Not a chance. David Hay coming back in. He can have some exhibition bouts and that, but he's been in and out of the game. You get absolutely obliterated by AJ. No disrespect to David Hay. He had a good career. I have never changed my opinion on AJ. He's been wrapped up by Eddie Hearn since day dot. That's fair enough. I got on board the bus train with AJ when he was coming through in the Olympics and all that. But that's fair. No, you've stuck to what you felt from the day one with him, Steve. So that's a fair comment. Pete Layton. He got lucky with Andy Ruiz because Ruiz pounded on the weight. But if Ruiz had kept weight, he could have beat AJ if it was a fight. So AJ isn't a good enough knockout guy as Ruiz smashed him. And he boxed very cautiously in that second bout out in Saudi to get the win.
Yeah, he used his jab in the second fight, didn't he? He kept
Ruiz to get into a slanging match a second time, with the fists and go at it with him because he would have got KO'd again probably. And Ruiz versus AJ too. Just stayed on the outside, wore him down, and outboxed him. Yeah, but then in pure boxing age is crap also when you see this. Yeah, people just saying he's a glorified puncher now, and he hasn't got the fundamentals when, everyone's multifaceted in there. Brett Thomas, Logan Paul is better than AJ. Everyone said AJ gives up too early. Logan kept it going against the world's best in Floyd. Chris?
Listen, right. Yes, Fury is the world's Fury. Floyd is the world's best at a point. I wouldn't say he's the world's best now, because if you put Floyd in with Canelo, I think Canelo beats Floyd at this age, not in his prime. Boxing moves on. If you're not in the sport, and you saw it with Nick Diaz this weekend in UFC, if you're not in the sport and you're out the sport for so long, you get bypassed by people. And no matter how good you are. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
obviously, you guys in the chat disagree with me.
Absolutely. We take on board Brett's opinion. Yeah, the stadium, do you know what? As big as
I said this to you when we watched it.
Talking like 20, 25, 30,000 more at Wembley. But obviously now, Wembley was built by 2007. You look at how they're building the stadiums now, and doing 60,000 is fine, isn't it? If not more with the floor seating. You can see that it's state of the art. They raved about it, all the different things they did with it. It looked amazing. Jamie Redknapp even said when they interviewed him, do you think Dillian Whyte will get a shot at AJ now? It's possible. Dillian Whyte wanted to get to the ring. I don't know if you saw the video, but
I didn't see that.
I think he wanted to console AJ, to be honest with you, but he can only get so far. There was a video of that through IFL. Tom Rust, quality. Is that new? You're a new viewer, I think.
Cheers, Tom.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
YouTube? Yes. Type in powered4.tv on YouTube if you want to watch on there. Also, we're on the podcast apps now in audio form, waiting on Apple to clear and a few others, but we are on Spotify and some others as well. So, yeah, we are on YouTube as well if you want to watch on there. Steve Monkman, who would you say would win between Wilder and Usyk?
Usyk all day, every day.
You can deal with a puncher. We've seen it. I know Wilder's got the most devastating knockout power of all. Tyler T, it is Isaac from Norwich. All right, mate. Yeah, I told him we were going to be a little bit later today. All right, Lewis did not watch it. Oh, that's fine. You've been busy, Lewis. You've been out and about, I've seen, mate. Jake Paul, knock him down with punches, and Logan can shoot on him for takedown, hold his legs together while Jake goes for punches to his head, whilst he has been held down.
It sounds like a girl fight. They're going to pull his hair next, Brett.
What about George Foreman? He came back. Yeah, he did actually. And he was a lot older. He's well into his 40s winning the world title. So it has been done. I watched the documentary on him last week. Also, side note, Paul Holyfield. Yeah, going back to that man shouldn't have been in there. But it's money. We've heard about his money issues and stuff like that. He obviously needs it. The undercard Hatton fight was a fix. We're going to cover Hatton Yes, Lawrence Okoli against Prasovic, Chris. It was as one-sided as can be. You said, what's he doing in there with him? We were saying on Saturday night, weren't we?
Yeah. It was frustrating to watch that, mate. Someone who's...
he can only come up against mandatories. He's WBO cruiserweight champion. As you said, what are they going to do with him next? He's got to come up against Blaydes. Definitely IBF and Ring Magazine champion. You've got a Lunga as well, McCarvey, who Tony Bellew beat at Goodison Park. WBC. Basically, what I'm getting at, they just need to unify. They need to get these 4 fighters in. And Riyad Mertz as well, who is WBA champion. Make all them fight. They've got to fight each other. We've got to get unification. And the sooner Okoli can unify, the sooner he's going to go up to heavyweight, Chris.
No, I totally agree. He's got the frame for it. Listen, Okoli, this was just like a glorified sort of training fight for him on the weekend, wasn't it? Okay, I'm glad he got paid, which is great. He was in the co-main as well, wasn't he? The guy fought, never seen him before, but was never near his standard. But like I said, it was a nice little workout for him. He got paid. You know what I mean? Didn't have to do too much, did he? Didn't get injured, which is the main thing. And he still looked quite good doing what he did. So, yeah, as you said, move him on now to the bigger fights. Let's see what Okoli's got.
They don't need to be putting in with mandatories. And yes, moving on, Chris. Yeah, well done here because we've got to move along. Callum Smith, who won by KO. Lennon Castillo was badly hurt. He had to go to hospital. He's now stable. Thank God for him. Not taking any of the gloss from Callum Smith in his performance. Up at light heavyweight now after the unanimous decision loss to Canelo Alvarez at super middle. So he's another one. He's got the frame for light heavyweight. He was always big at super middle. He took his loss. He went to 12 rounds with Canelo last December. Just glad, Chris, that Lennon Castillo is out the woods and he's okay because that was horrible to see. That was horrific to see. He was like twitching on the ground when he'd been knocked down. Not a nice thing to see. But this is, the severity of boxing, isn't it? And combat sports, Chris, the dangers of it.
That's it. We've seen enough over in UFC. Or just MMA in general, because you're not just getting punched. Oh, you're in MMA. There's multifacets of punches, kicks, chokes, Muay Thai. There's all sorts of different things you can get caught with in MMA, and I've seen some bad ones. This one was, it's horrible to see, but hopefully, I don't know if you know this, is the guy okay?
Yeah, he's stable. They've
you can sort of argue and change that for me. I just watching the fight, just thought Martinez has bossed it. He beat him to the punch. He got caught a few times with Martinez, but he walked through it. Campbell Atton was getting, just like I said, uppercuts, and then he was getting caught that 1-2s. I don't know how he won this. It's one of those sort of things where, is it hometown judges? Because, sometimes that's happened over the years in boxing, hasn't it, for certain fighters in their title defenses. When it's gone to the judges, they favoured the hometown guy, haven't they? But I don't know how you can favour the hometown guy when he's lost every round. I'm confused, mate. I said to you that it was ridiculous.
There'll be a lot of food for thought for the Hattons here because, at the end of the day, he's very early on in his career. There's no amateur. They brought him in. He's 20. He's young. But, yeah, how he's won that, I don't know. But as you say, judges,
Madness. It's madness. If I'm honest, it's madness.
They're really going to have to work on his defence and his guard, Chris.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Because when you're going in the guard, he wasn't really covering because he was going in and trying to go up, and the whole sort of what Ricky Hatton used to do. But
his offense, I don't think. His offense is great. I think, but that was for all to see. The amount of times that Martinez was hitting him at will. I'm sure they're going to work on his defense. It might be a bit of a wake up call. Also, was it the size of the venue as well? All them people. He boxed behind closed doors, hadn't he, a couple of times because of COVID. So maybe, like you say, it was the whole event was maybe got to him a little bit.
Possibly. We got another comment here from Jono.
John Scott. Hello, mate. Hello, afternoon, chaps. Great show. Thank you. Thank you to Rich and John for giving us the platform.
Definitely.
Appreciate you both immensely.
Right, we'll move on to this weekend, Stuart.
Yes.
Elsa Carno's actually just mentioned about Chris Eubank, so I thought it was quite
timing. Perfect timing, Elsa. Yeah, and Sky Sports are back now with the rebranded boxing channel. You know, they've gone in with a few promotions, and yeah, we've got some big fights coming up. Josh Taylor will be on soon as well. There's plenty to look forward to, along with some big events. So they've lost Eddie Hearn's matchroom, but they've gone back in, which is great. And yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. to fight a middleweight after Sven Alber, I can't pronounce it, drops out due to COVID. So Anatoly Muratov is in. He's only lost 2 fights, Chris Muratov. So it's a good test of him for Chris Eubank Jr. You know, he's trying to get back up to world honours as well. Looking forward to seeing him. What did El Secano have to say in regards to Chris Eubank Jr., Chris?
Well, I'll bring it up for you now. Just move all that rubbish out of the way. Where we are. Here we go.
Chris Eubank Jr. is on this weekend, I think. Yeah, he is. I don't understand this. New Sky Sports boxing promotion. Is this to combat the zone, to have it free? I think it's because they've lost the caliber of fighters, you know.
They've lost a lot, haven't they?
The box office. So I think, you know, they've got to look at this. You know, you'll pay for your sports subscription and they'll try and do it that way, maybe. I can still see it doing pretty well. Steve Monkman, more setup than pro wrestling, that Hatton fight. It's because they can't have him on zero on him now. Yeah, I agree. But it's bad. It's bad when you see that happening. You know, other fighters are going to think, well, if he can get away with it, and I'm from a boxing family, you know, it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other with it, I think. But I do take.
I liked what Chris Eubank said. I was watching the Sky Sports coverage at the time on the weekend, and he said that, you know, he needs to go away, go fight in Mexico, go fight in Russia, or these smaller venues and these small events, just to get some confidence up and just get some more fights in him. I think I agree. Mexico, as we both know, Puerto Rico, very good places for boxing, you know, for the technical sides as well. Maybe just go over there and learn some stuff. You know, doesn't need to be on the big cards, does he? Where maybe the pressure got to him a bit. Maybe just take him away.
I think it was I think the stadium, the amount of people might have been a factor. You know, I know you can sometimes just block that out as a fighter, but he's very young. Yeah. You know, he's in his infancy. Hopefully he can come back from this, but defensively they've got to sort him out, because I mean, he's against people with, you know, they've lost more than they've won, and he's encountering problems now. But he's got time. There's time on his side.
Oh yeah.
You know, we want the lad to do well. It's not about that. It's not us kicking off about him or having a go. Lewis Young, what do you think of Dana White's Contender Series, Chris? Duncan versus Manuel Garcia. Chris?
I haven't watched that fight yet, actually. I'm quite behind on Dana White's Contender Series for this season. There's been so much going on at the time. But Lewis, I'll watch that this week, and then next week's episode, I'll get back to you on that one.
Nice one, Lewis.
Right, okay, mate. We'll swiftly move on to UFC, I guess, because not only, you know, was there a really good fights on the boxing card, there was some absolutely bangers on the UFC 266 this week. So before we jump into the VT, Stuart, you've watched the fight. Tell me how you felt.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Ortega in with anybody else, he'll win, won't he? It was just, Volkanovski was fantastic. He was really, really good. I'd say Ortega had success early on. I did like at the end of round 2 when they were going at each other. They went like the heads were close. You know, I thought it was going to be a kickoff fight, but no, fantastic. Volkanovski, man, I can't get over how good he is, and it's another huge, huge victory on his resume. A lot of people now are saying who can, you know, dethrone him. Do you think Max Holloway could come back for him? Would you see that happening? Can he avenge, you know, the loss?
Well, it's possible, because both fights were between them both were razor close. Volkanovski again. Now, we spoke about this last week about the pace and the pace that Volkanovski sets during the fight, and you know, Max Holloway is up there when it comes to pace setting. Volkanovski in this fight as well showed you the pressure and the pace and the striking. He was just outclassed. I thought he outclassed Ortega. I say they put on a fight, the contender, it's only because of the heart that Ortega's shown. Realistically, in my eyes, I didn't see Ortega win any round in that whole entire 5-round fight. I thought Volkanovski bossed it. I think towards the end, he was tiring. He was getting caught by the straight jabs by Ortega, wasn't he? But he was laughing at him. I found it was quite funny. He had he caught Volkanovski in a guillotine, a really tight guillotine, and Ortega's slick, fantastic in his jiu-jitsu, and you thought most people who would get caught in that guillotine and how tight that was, most people would have tapped, but he flipped it, got into a triangle choke, and he was starting pulling faces at him in the triangle choke, and that was tight as well. Just shows you the pure sort of, bravery and the heart that Volkanovski has, but to have a laugh with you when you're getting choked out, unbelievable. He was just too good. He changed that triangle choke in the third round, actually battered him on that ground impact, absolutely destroyed him. You talk about Campbell Atten's, the sort of the judging in this. I found something dodgy in this fight as well. After that third round, Ortega did get off the ground straight away, struggled, and they kept on. I think it was Herb Dean and one of the doctors, and they kept on putting a finger in his hand, in his face, and counting, and that took too long for me in my eyes. He could have got probably a bit more time to recover, but it looked to me that Ortega after that third round was really, really struggling, and they just took too long in that corner before the bell rang for the fourth round, and it just sort of bothered me a bit because Volkanovski said in his press conference after the fight, he could hear him and he couldn't answer them properly. He was getting it wrong, but they kept on repeating themselves until he got it right. Felt that was quite shady. Is that a case of maybe didn't want the fight to end too early because it's such a big card and the fights have been really good. Mm-hmm. I just thought that, again, that's a bit shady. If that is the case, I just thought it was a bit odd that if he was getting that number wrong, and obviously his eyes were, like I said to you about his eyes, when he gets hit properly, they do close very quickly. But all in all, Volkanovski is pound for pound one of the best at the moment in mixed martial arts, especially in that featherweight division. He's a little terrier.
Is he going to have to go to 155 eventually? Saying that he does, keep defending. I'm reading online, a lot of people can't see him losing. Or is he going to be too short for 155? Do you think he'd get beat by the top end guys at lightweight? Or do you think he's got a shot if he was to go up? I know this is looking very far ahead, but this is the sort of thing I'm thinking of now. I'm sure there's still fights to be made at 145 for him, of course.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility, but obviously, like you said, there's still fights to be made. He's going to have to have that trilogy fight with Max Holloway. Absolutely. That's if Max Holloway gets. Max Holloway's obviously got Yair Rodriguez next, which is actually a really entertaining fight. We've got Max Holloway, who's fantastic with the striking, and we've got Yair Rodriguez, who's absolutely nuts when it comes to the kicking side of things, because he throws all sorts of kind of kicks. Maybe, but with regards to this, you could see someone coming up from the featherweight and challenging him, because there's always one person that's there hiding away, and then they pop up out of nowhere. Possibly could go to 155. There's nothing left, but again, as you say, he's a smaller guy. It's hard. Because he's been up at 170. He's fought one fight at 170. Yeah. He lost that fight.
To cut down and find out that you're actually an absolute beast at 145, that's incredible. As we've spoken about, last week.
Yeah.
Cutting from 200, and then, as you said, you can't believe a guy like him saying anybody can do it. If he can do it, it's just incredible, isn't it?
But he's got everything now, and this is like these sort of guys that come out of nowhere. Volkanovski, I remember when he came into UFC. I didn't think much of him. I thought he was just like a typical banger that can wrestle, because obviously he's got the whole sort of takedown with the rugby side of things, and he's proved me wrong. And I wasn't a hater. I was doubted because I just thought Max Holloway was going to reign supreme in that division for a very long time. But he's made a fan out of me. I enjoy his work. I can't wait. I cannot look forward to see him again, because him and Max Holloway or whoever's next for him, it's going to be a terrific fight.
Absolutely. We cut some of that out because there was fight footage. So it was nice.
Yeah, we're not allowed that.
Just in case we don't want to be getting shut down on a live. No. We'll have John and Rich will be upset with us. So we can use audio, we can use visuals of interviews, but no fight footage, I'm afraid.
Maybe one day, though. Maybe one day.
You never know.
Well, move on to Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, Robbie Lawler. Chris, he wins the second fight. Nick Diaz, when he went down and he didn't get back up, I was like, that's it. I just had that sinking feeling for him. But I tell you what, his punch output in the first round in particular, the amount of shots he threw, all right, Robbie Lawler's percentage was higher, but he threw a lot less punches, didn't he? He was very active, especially in the early rounds. But yeah, I just knew when he went down, I just knew he doesn't want any more of this. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, you know what? I watched Bisping today actually, and he was saying about the respect when a fighter goes down, and at that point, people are like, oh, why is he quitting? Why is he quitting? You know what I mean? I think he knew at that point he was done. And Nick and Nate Diaz are very real people. You mean they don't put any facade on? They are who they are. And I think he's been out for 6 years. It was a really good fight. And really enjoyed it for as long as it lasted. As you say, in the first round, Nick Diaz was that old school to the body, to the top, and there was a 5-punch combination from Nick Diaz, which you don't really see in the UFC, to be honest with you. It's more of a boxing sort of thing, yeah. And Robbie Lawler was using those calf kicks, and again, like Conor McGregor, you be out the game for so long, and you're not used to these calf kicks, and they come swinging around. They change the game, and I don't think Nick Diaz liked them, which I don't think anyone does anyway. But yeah, it was just really good to see them. The only problems I have was you must have seen it when Nick Diaz came to the octagon. He looked out of shape. He did.
And they went up to 185, didn't they? I'm sure with Lawler being so active, in terms of he could have 170 wasn't a problem. So yeah, it does beg the question, as you say, once he's got down there and you see the body. It's understandable, but it probably didn't help matters being at 185 either in the same token for him.
Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know what was going on in the camp for them for a minute. It was 170. Then a few days before the event, they changed it to 185. We can obviously clearly see in the fight when Nick came down that, it was seriously conditioned. It was bad because, Nick and Nate are always known for their conditioning, and how hard what they put in for training camp for the fight. So it was hard to see Nick looking as the way it is. But it was good to see it. The first round was really good, and it was really compelling because they were both fighting in a phone booth. You could have put that in any other little place, like a little small kitchen, and they would have been fine. Didn't need that big octagon at all because they were both up against each other and they're just swinging. Obviously, Robbie Lawler came out in the third round. He caught Nick Diaz with that check hook, didn't he? Right across the nose. Didn't want to go to ground with Nick Diaz, which is understandable. Yeah, obviously, he didn't want to carry on. Sorry, so. Unfortunate for us who were Nick Diaz fans, and you would have preferred him to win if you were his fan. I said to you last week, I wasn't sure he was going to win. I had hope for Nick, and in my head was Lawler. Shame for me, for both of them. Now I think they should retire. Lawler should go off and finish, retire from a win, and I don't think Nick should come back. Nick should probably go and carry on doing what he's doing in the background.
Time. As you said last week, it was a length of time out the game for Nick Diaz. It became apparent, didn't it?
Yeah. We'll move to the VT, mate.
Yeah, courtesy of BT.
Robbie, such a fun fight for us, for you, I'm sure, as well. You've been one half of so many incredible fights over the years. How does that one rank in terms of enjoyment and satisfaction from your performance?
It feels great. It's been a long time since I've put on a showing like that. Nick brought the best out of me tonight, and I'm excited to get the W.
It looked like you didn't want any part of being on the ground. As soon as he went down from that shot, you were back up, you were willing him up. Do you think it's a broken nose from what you can see? I mean, definitely a lot of damage there. You're both taking some damage, but, in terms of the stoppage.
Yeah, it was a rough fight. I think I was catching him to the body a little bit. It was just a accumulation of punishments and blows. He did a good job of weathering stuff. He threw a lot of good shots. I was trying to do a good job of rolling with it, and hats off to him.
You certainly were, and hats off to him, of course. You were taking control. Pushing Nick back. That looked like the strategy. Was that the plan going into the fight somewhat?
Not really. I was going to feel it out and see what he gave me, and I just felt like that was the way to go, and just get in his face and force the fight. He likes to fight, but so do I, so that's hopefully the fans enjoyed it.
Look, this obviously gets you back in the win column as well, and you just said to me before we started, you said that's how I like to fight, and he brought out the best in you. Do you see yourself now only waiting for opponents that excite you in the way that Nick Diaz excited you to get into training again, or do you just want to take anybody to keep climbing back up the rankings?
I'm not sure. My coach is in training partners did a great job of getting me ready. I'm competitive right now. Jason Jackson pushed me for this camp where I had to freaking go. Otherwise, I was going to get beat up, and I didn't want that to happen. Henry Hoof, Nick Lentz pushed me, and I'm ready to fight, and we'll see what the UFC brings.
Interesting.
I'd open, but as you say, would be the right time. You know, he broke in so young as well, didn't he? Initially, when he was in the UFC, came away he was at Strikeforce, wasn't he, for many years? Came back,
Elite XC champion as well. He was, yeah.
You know, I think not a lot of people would have felt maybe he was going to get to the heights coming back, but he did. He had some great.
He did, yeah. Amazing fights.
He was on a bit of a bad run, as you said last week, so he needed this. And I think just staying active helped him. It's definitely helped him because I know it's obvious to say Nick being away for so long, the weight cut, and then fighting another 15 pounds heavier than they should have done. A lot of factors there, wasn't there, Chris?
There was, like I say. I read stuff like the last couple of days since the fight, and a lot of people have come out on his side of the camp saying this wasn't the fight he wanted. He wanted to come back a little later on in the year, and UFC sort of forced him into this fight. He didn't want a 5-rounder either. He wanted a 3-rounder. It's it's a lot of hearsay, he say sort of thing, isn't it? Because obviously we're never going to know the truth of that. But unfortunately, this is the way it goes. You're out the octagon or cage, whatever wherever when you're fighting for so long. And you're not evolving, you get caught. But like I said, it was nice to see him maybe not come back, maybe give Nick Diaz, the thank you for what you've done for the sport, but we don't need to see that, a legend like Nick Diaz, to go down like that, because he goes out in the shield to the Diaz brothers, that. So it was hard one to see.
Absolutely. Robbie Lawler back in the win column, and as Chris says, it's a bit open-ended. Will he call time on his career? Will he have another fight?
We'll see.
Judging against the top guys, he's had a bit of a bad run, hasn't he? So yeah, we will see. And Chris, are we moving on to the fantastic Valentina Shevchenko? And as you put there in the headline, just far too good for Laura Murphy, former Invicta champion herself, 15-5 now. Heavy favourite, Chris. And understandably so. And the fight went how we felt it was going to go. Very, very one-sided, very lopsided.
Yep. Listen, Shevchenko is far too good for flyweights. There's no one in that division that's going to come close to her. She took Laura Murphy down when she wanted. She used the ground and pound when she wanted. She lit up Laura Murphy. Just the strikes, if you look at the output of her strikes and the significant strikes, way, way, way ahead of Laura Murphy. She finished it in a 4th with TKO. I got that wrong. I did say first round, but I did say TKO. So one of the, got one right
there. I'll give you it because that was how it was stopped.
She's just too good. There's no one in that flyweight division for Shevchenko to challenge her. It's difficult, really, to sort of pull anything out of this fight because she's just too good. There was nothing there will go, or maybe this person might challenge her and make a difficult fight in that division. There's no one in that division.
Two ladies that need to come to loggerheads again eventually, as we have
for
said.
The trilogy. Yeah, 100%.
That's the only conceivable thing now, isn't it? Because as you say, she's just going to hammer people in that division anyway. There's only one lady at present, and I'm sure she would love to get another chance at her.
No, 100%. Yeah, she's called out Nunes plenty of times. You know what I mean?
It's got to happen, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
Please make that fight, will you? The matchmakers at UFC.
Well, Sean Shelby and Nick Maynard, give them a call. Right, we'll move on to the big men.
Heavyweight, always. We like our heavyweights, Chris, don't we? And I think, as we said last week, it went pretty much. If Curtis Blaydes was going to win, he had to, get him. He had to get him down, didn't he? As well, and he did that. He did that time and time again. What were your thoughts?
Quite bored of the fight, if I'm completely honest with you. I expected that. I didn't expect Blaydes to stand up with Rosenstrike, which would be absolutely stupid if he did. We did get caught a few times. He had a cut under his eye as well, and he was struggling with the vision of his eye as well throughout the fight. Curtis Blaydes does what Curtis Blaydes wants to do when it comes to strikers like Rosenstrike, and he got caught by Derek Lewis, didn't he? But he was, on top of Derek Lewis for the whole fight until Derek Lewis hit him with that, soul-destroying uppercut that sent him to Mars. But Rosenstrike hasn't got that power. Rosenstrike's very technical. He's a kickboxer. So, he needs space. Curtis Blaydes wasn't ever going to give him that space. He took him down. He beat him up on the ground. And that's what Curtis Blaydes does. His call-outs were a bit weird at the end. He called out Miocic. And after that fight, you're not going to get Miocic. And then he called for the winner or loser of the Ngannou-Garn fight. After that performance, you're not going to get those fights.
I could hear booing in the crowd, Chris. They wanted a strike fest, but he stuck to his guns. I know it's not exactly, inspiring or pleasing for us, but he's done what he had to do in the same token. Because
100%.
He couldn't have got into a fist fight with him. He knew that, and you said it last week. He's got to go to his bread and butter, But I can see it from the fans' perspective as well. You can understand this booing. They want it to be 100 mile an hour, don't they? Heavy shots sometimes.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not like that. You know what I mean? You've got to appreciate everything, and fighters have got to win the way they got to win. You look at George St. Pierre over the years. If he was facing a striker, he was never going to stand up and fight with the striker. He was going to take him down, and he was going to beat him up on the ground, and that's what the plan was. And more to him, you know what I mean? You're not always going to excite the fans with these sort of fights. I think more people probably look forward to him getting knocked out like when Derek Lewis did, than him actually having a boring fight and sitting on the guy and beating him up. But that's what Curtis Blaydes does. The thing is, I found the fight boring. It wasn't a case of him just taking him down, but there was just nothing. There was nothing about it. And then calling out Miocic, not happening. Calling out for the winner of a Ngannou game, not going to happen.
Who for Blaydes next? Okay, I like posing. I always pose this one to you after a big fight. Who, if not them guys, who's you going to be getting in there with next?
Well, if you look above him, everybody else is taken. Obviously, Miocic is out at the moment. Miocic isn't going to take the fight. I'd say Miocic would want the winner of Ngannou and Garn himself. And after that, that's it. Below him, is Derek Lewis. I can't see that being rematched. Volkov, who's fighting in the next couple of weeks, I think. Obviously, maybe, but I think, I can't see that happening. Tom Aspinall's there, and Tom Aspinall's on the bounce.
I was waiting for you to say in. I think that'd be a good one, and that'd be a big test.
Big test for Tom Aspinall if he's
good, though.
going in against Curtis Blaydes.
It's brilliant for him, and we can really see then.
He's very undersized though, Stuart, because Curtis Blaydes is a big guy.
He's a big dude. Yeah, I agree. I think that he's a modern heavyweight, isn't he, Tom Aspinall? He's got speed, but as you say, this is it. We need the barometer. We need to see where.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
It's full of killers. It's full of killers as always, isn't it?
Well, it's getting better. I love heavyweight at the moment because you're getting fresh guys coming in, and it's not just typical bangers. They have all array of skill sets that are coming in now, and you're seeing heavyweights moving faster. When Brock Lesnar was there, I wasn't Brock Lesnar's biggest fan in MMA, and you know that. But he moved fast, and that's what scares other heavyweights because they like to stand and slug. These guys coming in now, your Garns, they move fast. They're very technical. Tom Aspinall's technical. Let's move forward. So, Bellator
yes.
This week.
Huge card in London. There's been a lot of radio advertisement for this. They're trying to get seats sold, obviously leading up to it. And it is Douglas Lima against our very own Michael Venom Page for a second time, Chris. I, for one, am looking forward to this. It's good to have Bellator back, a big card, and especially here in the UK. We're very heavy on UFC, as to be expected. So, it'd be nice to come some Bellator because they're doing some good stuff, aren't they, Chris? And, this is no exception, this huge bout.
No, the first fight was very competitive in the 2 rounds it was going for. Venom Page is very unorthodox. He's just, if you watch him, he hasn't fought hard fights, and I've always said this when we spoke about my MVP. He hasn't fought the caliber of fighters to test him, really. Lima was really the first fighter that actually tested him. And Lima was, trying to work him out. And when he worked him out in the first round, you see it. He comes in, Lima kicks his legs from underneath him, and as MVP is trying to bounce back up, he hits him with a nasty uppercut, finishes the fight. But between that point and him getting finished, Lima was working him out. Lima was working out, how to engage him, where the movement's coming from. I see the same thing happen again. I like Venom Page, but the difference is if Lima came into the UFC, Lima would be a top welterweight. I think if Venom Page came into the UFC, and this is no knock because I like Venom Page, he's a Brit and we like to follow our Brits, but if Venom Page came into UFC and went to 170 where there's some really heavy wrestlers, you get found out very, very quickly.
That's it. He's got name value, but as you say, what would be the point? And he might know that deep down, mightn't he? I'd say they're pushing it. There's been radio adverts for weeks, so obviously trying to get the tickets sold for it. They do well. They do well with the crowds over there, over here, should I say?
Yeah, but you know what? Bellator have some really good British fighters on their roster anyway. But people need to realise it's not just UFC. There is Bellator, there is ONE FC, there is a new organisation starting soon, which has got better fighter pay, and they're bringing in retirement pay, really looking after the fighters. I can't remember what the name was now. I'll have to get it for you. But that's a new organisation that's coming in, and I think that might piss Dana right off a bit, because obviously Jake Paul keeps throwing him in that limelight of not paying his fighters, the right amount of money.
You've said about it. You've said how they're underpaid. When you look at what the boxers are getting paid, and the payouts to the boxers are unreal. But maybe be food for thought for Dana if this promotion does get a bit of steam ahead of itself.
No, if it gets a bit of traction, we'll put this whole fighters' pay back in the limelight. And it is one of them. I'd like to say we can have this argument about fighters' pay all day long, but we'll move on swiftly to this weekend. And I like this picture, Stuart.
Santos, Thiago Santos, and the colourful Johnny Walker, Chris. We've seen some stuff of him, outside the octagon, turning up to Wayne's, nearly tripping over. He's a character. Big fight, this, Chris. I'm not sure where you're going to go with this one. I'm thinking Thiago Santos for the victory. What are your feelings on this one?
Santos hasn't looked great, really, since John Jones. We had this conversation a few weeks ago where people have thought, with Anthony Smith, and we covered Anthony Smith's fight, people fight John Jones, and they seem to go on a really weird curve. I know Santos did his ACL and some of the sort of injuries to his leg, didn't he, in that fight against John Jones. The thing with Johnny Walker is he's wild, isn't he, Johnny Walker? And he's got a lot of power. Thiago Santos has probably one of the most powerfulest check hooks in there at 185, as I said, at 205. He knocked out Jan Blachowicz, our current lightweight champion, with that check hook, that very check hook. He knocked down Glover Teixeira, who's facing Jan Blachowicz in a couple of weeks' time, with that very same check hook. He's dangerous. You know how hard his leg kicks are. Okay, he didn't throw them at Rakic. Rakic is just something else. I think Rakic is just some sort of block where some fighters who are normally good at certain aspects, he just stops them dead. I just think this is going to be a case where Johnny Walker's going to have to throw something wild and catch Thiago Santos, because if he doesn't, I think Thiago Santos will take control of this whole fight, and I'll probably see a KO win for Thiago Santos, probably second to third round with that check hook. If he doesn't kill his legs with the leg kicks,
that'll be the way it goes. Yeah, I have Thiago winning. I should say present tense when I'm saying that. I'd say look, 21-9. Johnny Walker 18-5. Should be a good test. Where is it? Where are they fighting?
It's a good question. I didn't. I think it's Vegas.
Okay.
And imagine it'd be Vegas.
So we'll be watching out for that. We're watching out for the Bellator as well, which is in London. And Chris,
here we go, Stuart.
Chili's watching us.
How you doing, Chili?
Former guest of the show. We'll have to get him back on soon.
Well, here you go then. For MVP in Lima, you can catch the main card from 9 o'clock on BBC iPlayer. No excuses. BBC iPlayer, 9 p.m.
For our UK people, fantastic. I know they've really done well coming over to the BBC and then iPlayer being how it is. So that's good. Free to view for the fans, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else coming in?
That is, far as I know. Hold on. Yeah, that's it, mate.
Not a lot of comments this week. We thank you for your comments.
And the new people have come in and joined us.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great seeing new viewers. We enjoy doing this every week, and it's good. It's good. There was a lot of comments, actually, a lot of good perspectives on it, and that's what it's about. Opinion sometimes.
Well, we
all love combat sports. We've all got that in common. Chris, before we go, where can they find you, the viewers, on the socials?
Yes, no problem. They can find me on Twitter at Van Hume. They can find me on Instagram at VanHume86. And scrolling on the bottom of your screen, you can find both me and Stuart on our very own page on Facebook. I'll put the link there, right going across your screen.
Absolutely. And I've been Stuart Palmer. Stu's Wrestling Podcast. There'll be a new episode coming out. I've had the Gardening Chaos on today and the Big Daddy. This is why we're a bit later. We had to move the time around. So, yeah, Chris, thanks for moving the time around there as well. It's just we needed that extra half an hour. Great story about him. He's a Hall of Famer over in America as well. He's managed so many people, ex-WWE guys on the independent circuit. He's been on Jerry Springer as well. So we spoke about that. He's done a lot of TV and stuff like that. Great guy. He's absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, that will be out. And then, yeah, we'll be back next week, Chris, as well. Next Tuesday, we'll sort the time out, won't we? And we'll be back for episode 32 of Powerful.tv, Big Fight Weekly, with myself, Stuart Palmer, and my cousin and co-host, Chris Hume.
All right, see you guys then.